Florentin, and I'm going to talk about. Yeah, sorry. So hi everyone. I'm going to talk about unwanted consequences of flexibility in onion routing protocols. So this is joint work with my thesis advisor, Olivier Pereira, and it has been done at the UCL Crypto Group in Belgium. So let's start with an overview of the most known onion routing system. So these big colorful figures, I'm going to attract your attention of two concepts with these figures. So the first one is the concept of guard discovery attack. So on the top you can see a client connecting to the Tor network and using a big circuit composed of in fact 6 relays. So there's in fact two circuits into it, joined by the rendezvous. And by the path selection design, you are guaranteed to always have the same entry point at the other end. So the onion service is always going to have the same entry nodes. And so it's why that a guard discovery is a serious problem in this protocol, because if you find the identity of that guard, you are very close to de-anonymize the onion service itself. So this is the first concept. And the second concept is what you can read in titles, dropping on the edge. The edge is where everything interesting happens in this work. So it's most of the time the endpoints of the circuit, but it's not always that. So for simplicity reasons, let's consider that is always the endpoints of the circuits. We know that the internet is built from various protocols, and some time ago, in fact a long time ago, people gathered and put some guidelines about how to design protocols that have been found useful when they designed the protocol that we use today in our daily lives. And in fact, you have this robustness principle, which is one among them. And this principle tells you that you have to be tolerant with what you receive from the others. And one of the contributions of this work is to show that this principle can lead to strong attacks. And various protocols use this principle. Even the Tor routing protocol uses it. So in the Tor routing protocol, the robustness principle is used with forward compatibility. So what is it? It allows compliance with future versions of the protocols. So if you look into this piece of code, this function is always executed in endpoints of Tor circuits when the nodes receive a cell. And basically, like in any network protocol, you have header, you have a payload, and this function is just going through all the possibilities and to know what to do with that particular cell or packet. And if it does not know what to do because the packet is irrelevant or other, it's just going to ignore it for forward compatibility reasons. And for the remaining of this talk, my job is to convince you that this behavior that seems inoffensive is, in fact, has some security concerns. So I'm going to show you this with two attacks, guard discovery attacks and traffic confirmation attacks. So let's start with the guard discovery attacks. So it combines three components. So the first one is a path selection trick. So this is what you can see on the pictures. The idea is to build many parallel circuits towards the same onion address. And by design of the path selection, you are going to obtain this. So just to remind, these attacks, you don't need to run any relay inside the network to discover the identity of the guards. You just need to have modified Tor clients. And so the second component of this attack is to use the forward compatibility to send as many cells as you want, depending on the numbers of parallel circuits you have, that are going to be ignored by the onion service, by the other side. And doing this, you are going to create what's a perturbation. And this perturbation, you can see it with a side channel. And the side channel that we use to recognize the guard is, in fact, the public measurements of relays. So each relays report each day measurements about the bandwidth that they have sent and receive. And we can use this public information to try to look for a bump when we apply this attack. So you can see here on the right, it's a graph that has been plotted by a public service showing the result of an attack over my own relay in front of a DUMI onion service. So we know that it's possible to do. The question that we want to answer is what's the success rate of such an attack in the wild? So to answer that question, we make some assumptions. So we make some assumptions about, for example, the fact that there is a graceful behavior of the relay, meaning that it's not going to be offline during the attack. And with those assumptions, we can in fact use the history of the network to evaluate the attack. So the history, all the past history of the network is registered, and we can exploit this information to simulate it. We are going to distinguish several situations. So in this first situation, you have a bottleneck on the onion service, meaning that the guard relay is not able to send as much bandwidth as it would like, so it's going to buffer the extending cells into its memory until the memory is full. When the memory is full, Tor call, so the guard relay is going to call an algorithm to kill the circuits and recover the memory. But this algorithm allows trivial discovery attacks because it's going to desynchronize counters in the public history. We have a read counters and a write counters, and if you call many times the out-of-memory algorithm, you have this desynchronization that happens. And we can see in this figure over a private network which of the relay was actually the guard relay of the onion services. So, but this is a bug, it can be fixed, this one. So we are going to consider that this bug is fixed for the rest of the analysis. And here in this situation, we consider that the onion service, the bottleneck is on the guard relay. So when the bottleneck is on the guard relay, what you can do is consider that the guard is going to saturate. So you can build a classifier and try to recognize into the history for what parameters of the attack you are going to have possible candidates among the guards. So if you look at the right figure, this gives you the number of possible candidates for different parameters. And let's look at the bottom lines. So the bottom lines is an attack duration of one complete day. Sorry. And for a threshold of 1.2, the threshold is the size of the bump, if you want. You are going to have something like 20 possible candidates. And the more you increase the threshold, the less candidates you have. But the more you increase the threshold, also the less likely you are going to find the correct guards inside your candidates. So this is a trade-off. And to know exactly what's the probability to miss the guard relay, the correct guard relay, we need to look into the spare resource of each guard, because the bump that you are going to see in the history depends on the spare resource of the guard. So, but hopefully for the attack, a lot of guards have spare resource. So you can see this on the left graph, which gives you, for example, that 80% of guard relay are used at half of their bandwidth. So knowing that information and knowing also the distributions of probability for the selection of guard, we can compute the probability of false negative for a given threshold. So the idea is to keep the threshold low, to not miss the guard, but you're going to have many candidates. And what you can do is to simply repeat the attack and take the intersection set until only one relay remains. And it's going fast enough. So also what we can do if we do the assumption that the counter exploit is fixed is to consider various bandwidths for the onion services. And the lower bandwidth of the onion services, the more difficult the attack to succeed, because the classifier is less likely to observe the bump into the history. And at the end, anyway, for a few megabytes onion service, you have a high success rate to retrieve only one and correct guard in a few days. So hopefully the Tor project did a great job to react to this problem and also to other guard discovery attacks. So there is no Vanguard that is available online, which is a set of mitigation for that kind of problems and others too. And you can check out. So the second attack that exploits forward compatibility is a traffic confirmation attack, but with interesting properties. So the interesting properties is the fact that it does not need any byte. The victim does not need to transfer any byte to be correlated over its circuit. So, and the application level traffic does not influence the success rate of this attack. And use also forward compatibility and a side channel. And it has been tested in Shadow with high success rate. And yeah, it can be applied in many different scenarios. So here's a scenario of the attack. So let's assume that you fetch a page on Tor browser. So this is what's going to happen. So you have first your onion proxy that sends the information for the exit nodes to connect. And this information is sent through the begin cell here. So once the exit relay, the correlating exit relay gets the information, it logs the IP of the destination websites and send back cells that are going to be ignored by the onion proxy in accordance with the flexibility design of the protocol. And so along the path, the guard relay will be able to, with a timing analysis, to spot the difference with a scenario when you don't have such mark. Because if you look careful at the exit connection, here in fact, there is a TCP handshake. Then once the TCP handshake is finished, you have a connected cell that is fired back to the client to say to the client, I'm connected. And these connected cells, because of the transport layer, is always guaranteed to be alone in the circuits if we don't have congestion of the middle nodes. And the drop mark attack is simply breaking this guarantee. And it works pretty well on simulations. So to conclude this talk, I just maybe want to try to start a discussion about forward compatibility. So I've heard about from one developers of Tor that they consider to remove it. I'm not sure that's a good idea because apart from the good properties that forward compatibility gives, I'm not sure it can solve the problem. So the idea is if you remove forward compatibility, let's take the example of the previous attacks, instead of silently ignoring the packets, you are going to kill the circuits. But since the robustness principles is everywhere in every protocols, you can probably craft cells that are going to be ignored at the application level, but not at the onion proxy. So it's going to be total valid from Tor layer, but not the upper layer. So I'm not sure it can really solve the problem to remove forward compatibility at the Tor layer. That's it for this talk. Thanks.
Okay, any questions?
Thanks. I mean, just like what you said, if you go back to the flow diagram, like the colluding exit could send pretty much any cell type to the other end and make a pattern that will be visible, right? So I agree. It's not the backwards compatibility that's the problem here. It's
not. But the problem is without forward compatibility, you can notice that it happens. So you can react to it. You can say, "Oh, this exit node is maybe a malicious node," and you can
maybe. But you could the colluding exit could send the connected cell early, and then send any pattern of traffic it likes.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not seeing why it's the forward compatibility's fault.
If I may, the colluding exit could, for example, if you're downloading something of any appreciable size, introduce, describe the content in Morse code on the wire, and the client would be similarly silent even though the exit is introducing no traffic.
Yeah, but it uses the application level traffic of the user to do that. So there is many connections on the Tor network that does not have many traffic, and those connections with these techniques you're not able to really do traffic confirmation on them. This technique does not need any traffic on the application layer to succeed. That's the main difference with what you said.
I think I missed some forest for the trees or vice versa or something, but
Okay.
the exit knows the destination.
Yeah.
And so what is it that he's even giving away that he can't just communicate?
Can just
I mean, if he knows the destination and he's colluding somebody on the other end, then why isn't that the whole
not
game?
the other end, it's on the path, so you want to collude with the guard relay. Yeah, because you want to do the end-to-end correlations attack. So the guard relay is going to log the IP address of the onion proxy when it sees that drop mark. If it's a colluding guard. If it's not a colluding guard, it's just it just applied protocol and nothing's wrong.
Any more questions? No? Okay, thanks. Just in time.
Just in time. So there's one other interesting thing from this paper that I wanted other people to think about. When the client sends a destroy cell to the guard saying, I'm done with this circuit, please tear it down, the client thinks, okay, the circuit's gone. It can never be used to attack me anymore. But if the guard is malicious, the guard can say, okay, I've gotten rid of the circuit. It's gone. But the guard can leave the circuit between the guard and the middle and the exit up, and the exit and guard can send stuff back and forth. There are some constraints on this. As long as they like and the client doesn't even know that it is still happening, this worries me. I don't know how to turn it into a bad attack, but it worries me.
Yeah, any more questions? No? Okay, thank you.